bearings is what we're going to look at in this video. It's split into 3 parts. So first we're going to start off by looking at questions around measuring bearings, and then marking a point with bearings, and then looking at reverse bearings like this one here. So the way my videos work, I'm going to do the example on the left, which is I do. You are then going to press pause and have got the example on the right, which is you do. So here we've been asked to measure the bearing of A from B. Now it's worth bearing in mind that bearings will require you to draw an outline like this. Bearings are always measured clockwise, and they are written to 3 digits. So here we've been asked to measure the bearing of A from B. So where do you draw the note line? Because it says from B, you draw your note line on B. So I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to draw my note line on B. So that is my note line, and I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit just to make sure it's right in the center. So there we go, perfect. And now I'm going to connect B and A together. Perfect. With the ruler, of course. And now I'm going to measure the bearing of A from B. And the way I'm going to do that is measure this angle here. So I'm going to bring in my protractor. I am going to put my protractor here. I'm going to line it up at the bottom. And just make sure that line's straight and put it on the point there. And now when I measure this, I can see that it is going to be from here to here. So that is coming out. So we're looking at the blue numbers. So that is between 79 and 80. So I'm just going to use 79 here. So the answer is going to be 079 because bearings are given to 3 digits. And in terms of accuracy, it's worth bearing in mind that the mark scheme does allow plus or minus 2. So for example, if the final answer is 80, the mark scheme will allow you to write anything between 78 and 82. Okay, which is why I didn't go for a decimal number there. So there's always a range of plus minus 2. But try to be as accurate as you can. So that is the bearing of A from B. And like I said, we measure that clockwise in this direction. So hopefully you've pressed pause. It's worth bearing in mind I have linked the slides in the comments down below, so you can print them off and follow along. So again, it says measure the bearing of B from A. From A means we draw the north line at, from B, sorry, means we draw the north line at B. I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit, make sure it's in the center. Cool. And then we're going to grab a ruler, join these 2 together. Awesome. And just draw a line across there. And put my ruler away. Now I'm going to grab my protractor out, and I am going to measure this angle. Try to be as accurate as I can. And to me, if I zoom in, that looks like it's about 84. So the answer here is 84. Now remember, it has to be 3 digits, so we add a 0 on. So 84 degrees is the answer here. Now moving on. So here we've been asked to measure the bearing of B from A. So it's a little bit different now. So we're going to draw the north line at A, because that's where you draw it. It says from A. So we are going to come here, draw in the north line. And as usual, I'm just going to tidy that up a little bit just so it's right in the center. There we go, perfect. Grab my new ruler, draw this line here. Awesome. Now, it's worth bearing in mind that bearings are measured clockwise, so we're going to measure in this direction. Now, rather than using my protractor to measure this angle, which will be a bit tricky, what I'm going to do instead is measure this angle and then subtract it from 360, because angles in a triangle add up to 360. So I'm going to grab my protractor, and I'm going to measure this internal angle here. So I'm just going to straighten this up. So that is 76, 77. So that is, so just get rid of this. So this angle here is 77 degrees. Now, of course, that's not what we want. What we want is this angle here. So we're just going to do 360, take away 77, which gives us 283 degrees. That is our final answer. And again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So it's saying measure the bearing of B from A. So I'll draw my north line here. And then I use a ruler to connect these 2 points together. And then I use a protractor to measure this angle and then take it away from 360 to make my life a bit easier. So I'm going to put this here, make sure I'm being as accurate as I can, and just move this there. Perfect. So that is coming to 101 for me. So this is 101. So I just do 101, take that away from 360, and that tells me this here, clockwise, is 259 degrees. Now remember, the mark scheme will allow plus or minus 2. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers, mark your work. And now moving on. So here we've been asked to mark a point. So we've been told Z lies on a bearing of 75 degrees from X and 280 from Y. So it's saying from X, so we're going to draw the north line here at X. Awesome. And it says 75 degrees from X. So we're just going to grab a protractor, rotate that like that, put it there because we measure bearings clockwise. So then go to 75 degrees and mark that on as a point. So 75 is right there. And if I just move this to the side and bring in my ruler, I could just draw a line from there straight through there. So that now is that there done. And if I keep reading the question, it says, and on a bearing of 280 degrees from Y. So we draw a north line at Y as well because it says from Y. So we draw a north line here. And I'm just going to tidy this up a little bit, move this so it's in the center. There we go, perfect. And 280 from Y. Now, it's a bit tricky to measure 280 on a protractor. So what we can do instead is we know that bearings are measured north. Let me just grab my highlighter. So from here to here, we know that's going to be 180. We need to go to 280. So we're just going to add an extra 100 on. So what we really end up with is something like this. So if I use my protractor, all I need to do is measure 100 in this direction. So if I put that there, make sure it's lined up, perfect. And now I'm going to measure 100, which is going to go from here through to here. I was supposed to use my highlighter there. From here through to here. So you can see it's going to be somewhere there. So we're going to put dot there. And we can get rid of the protractor now. So if I delete that. And I'm just going to use a ruler to draw a line. Just try to be as accurate as I can. There we go. And get that, draw a line through there. Awesome. Now you can see that mark with a cross the position of Z. Now Z is going to be right there. That's where the two cross. Okay, so hopefully that was clear. So step one was a bearing of 75 degrees from X, which is this one here. Step two was a bearing of 280. That's 280. From Y, that's done. And then you just look at where they cross, and that's where you put the Z. So again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a go at this. So if it looks something like, you draw your north line there, you draw your 50-degree angle, you draw your north line there, you measure your 330-degree angle, and it will look something like that on a high level. So if you go through this, let's just draw my north line and tidy that up a bit. And what is this 50 degrees? So if I just grab the protractor, awesome, 50 is about there. And if I just use my ruler to connect the two lines together, awesome. And if I draw my other north line on Y, awesome. And this is 330. Again, it's a little bit tricky to do that on the protractor. So what we can do instead is be a little bit smart and be like, well, actually from here to here, that's a straight line. So that's 180, which means we need another 150 to make up the 330. So I just need to measure an angle of 150 from here. So if I grab my protractor, put it like this, put that on there. So I just need to go 150 now. So we are going till there. So the red, just mark that on. Awesome. Get rid of the protractor. Don't need this anymore. Just grab your ruler and connect the two together. And that's that done. And Z is going to be just there. So mark that with the cross. And that is how you do that. So again, here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. And now moving on, reverse bearings. So with this one, we don't actually need a protractor. So we just need to be able to draw this out. So the bearing of a train station from a village is 120. So if we start off from a village is 120. So we know, let's just say the village is here. We draw the north line at the village. Fine. And it's saying roughly 120. Well, so 120 would look something like this. Awesome. So we can label that 120. And then the train station can just be there. So train. Awesome. Work out the bearing of the village from the train station. So from the train station, well, we know that's 120. Now, a little trick worth knowing here is this is a co-interior angle, this one here. Now, angles in a co-interior angle add up to 180. So if that's 120, then this must be 60. And how did I do that? 180 take away 120. I know that's 60. Now, to work out the bearing of the village from the train station, bearings are clockwise. So what we need is this angle here. Now, to get this angle here, you just take that away from 360. So if you do 360 take away 60, you end up with the bearing, and the bearing, this angle here, is 300 degrees. And again, hopefully you've pressed pause and had a correct example on the right. So we have the bearing of a car park from a cinema. So immediately, I'm just saying, well, actually, this cinema, it has an outline. Now, interesting, because the bearing, in fact, I should move this over a little bit, because the bearing here is 200. So that's going to be 180. So 200 is going to be roughly here. So it's going to be something like that. So I can draw a line there, and I can say, well, actually, this is 200 for the cinema, and then the car park. So we can just say car park is here, and then they want this bearing here. Now, essentially what you want to find is this angle here, because bearings are measured clockwise. So in order to get that, we can start by finding this angle here. So if that's 200 and the other is 360, angles around a point, this must be 160. So all I've done here is used angles around a point, add up to 360 to find this. Now, because I know what this is, and like I said before, these are co-interior angles, they both add up to 180. That means this must be 20, which means the bearing is 0 to 0. So here's some practice questions. Press pause and have a go. Here are the answers. Mark your work. Now, if you would like some more practice, I've got a full worksheet on this link down in the comments below. And if you found this video useful, I've got loads of other content like this on my channel. Do check it out.